Hi you guys, it is Julia Creations and I'm back with another video. Hi my budget babes and my budget bros. I hope you guys are doing well and having a great beginning of the month or first 2 weeks of the month. If you guys are new to my channel, welcome back. My name is Julia, or if you're new to my channel, welcome here. My name is Julia Creations. You guys, I'm a financial coach that makes budgeting and managing your finances 10 times easier. Also, I just want to put a disclaimer in here too, you guys. So for financial coaching, a lot of you guys have been asking how to book, how to get involved and become my client. I do want to keep in mind, you guys, I am not a financial advisor. I am a budget coach. So I teach people how to budget based on my knowledge of budgeting, just growing up and teaching myself how to budget. I did take a few personal finance classes, so I take the knowledge I have to teach my clients. I did celebrate my 4-year plan anniversary the other day. I posted it on my YouTube shorts, and I just want to say thank you guys so much again for my platform. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for trusting my knowledge throughout these years. It's still so surreal to me, and I literally was so emotional on that day. Just noticing that, you know, it was actually kind of more of 3 years, but I created the planner back in 2021, but it didn't drop till 2022, which is my first budget planner. I'm gonna pin it on the screen, you guys. If you don't know, that was the first budget planner I created that got me into financial coaching, budget coaching, whatever you want to call it. It got me to want to use what I learned to help other people. If you guys don't know the brand story of why I started my business, I'm gonna tag that video in the description below so you guys can see what even got me to where I am. But I do want to shine a light on that because it's so important to me. And I'm still grateful for all these years later to still be teaching, still be helping, still see people pay off debt. One of my clients texted me yesterday from 2023 and said that she finally paid off her debt and that she wasn't as quick as she wanted to be with her plan. But I also want to remind you guys, debt is a process. It's not an overnight thing. So don't be so hard on yourself. Give yourself a chance to grow. You learn so much in the process of being in debt. And I know that's a little controversial for me to say because I've never been in debt, but experiencing you guys' journeys and teaching you how to pay off debt, which is a crazy thing to me because I still ask God every day, how can I teach somebody how to pay off debt? And I've never been in debt, but I don't know, by the grace of God, just with my financial guidance, from what I've been experiencing in my life, I was able to teach others. So I just wanted to put that on there. Thank you guys for everybody that wished me a plan anniversary. We did run a sale on the planners. So if you guys missed a sale, I'm sorry. That was one of the big sales. I don't do sales quite often. We did do a Mother's Day giveaway from the last video. I did pick a mother that won for the raffle as well. So congratulations, Miss Jessica won the bundle, but thank you to everybody that participated. That won't be our only giveaway. I love giving back to my community that has given so much to me. So for today's video, you guys, we're going to be talking about how to do a couple's budget. I highly recommend, if you are booking a one-on-one call, to book the one-on-one call with your significant other. It's very good to talk about your finances together. It's very good to talk about these numbers. It's good to have these conversations, and I feel like it's very healthy. Most of the times when I do private sessions, usually I have a wife come in and she'll give the numbers, and then she'll give it back to her husband. But I really enjoyed this consultation because it was with one of my clients and her husband, and we were able to discuss their goals together and just break down the different numbers and what will be good for their budget. I did also want to discuss as well, you guys, that I will be opening where you guys can submit your numbers in. I know I said that was going to be happening in May. I'm trying to find the best way to bring that to my website where it doesn't conflict with my one-on-one calls, where you guys will be able to submit your numbers and I will do the budget for you and send it back to you. So I haven't forgot about that, you guys. If it's not going to be on the website in the next week, it'll be uploaded at the end of the month. I want it to be perfect and just organized and have a system that works for my clients and for me and my scheduling. So I didn't forget about that, but let's go ahead and get right into this budget, you guys. Let's do it. So the first thing we want to do, you guys, of course, is set up our bill calendar, write down our bills and expenses and our paydays on here. So we are going to write this for the month of May. So I'm going to go ahead and do May. And we'll start with the 1st, the 2nd, the 3rd, the 5th. And I'm going to go ahead and just fill in our calendar. Also, you guys, if you do have the digital planner, I recently did just make some updates to the digital planner where you'll be able to go in and get a bigger size calendar, and I just added some hiccups in there. So if you do have the digital planner, you should have gotten an email from me. So make sure you guys check your emails so you can update your planner to the newest version. So now we're gonna go ahead and write in our paydays, you guys. So she is paid every other Tuesday, and he is paid weekly. So this is going to be important when we're setting up our weeks of. So we're going to go ahead and write down the paydays. She's bringing in $1,100 and he's bringing in $900 each week. So we go ahead and put it like this. And you want to make sure you have these spaced out on the calendar really nicely. Go ahead and put this in here. Oopsie, I meant to put $1,100 for the income. Let's go ahead and fix that. 1,100, 1,100. Then we're gonna put payday again here for 900. Then we're gonna also put the payday on the 27th. And then we're gonna also put the payday for the 23rd and the 30th. You see, I'm just taking my time to make sure we're getting all the paydays in there correctly. Perfect. All right, so now once we have the paydays added, we can go ahead and write down our bills and expenses. The last payday is on the 29th of April, so we are going to go through and write down any bills that will fall around that time frame. So we do have the pet insurance from April that we will need to cover, which is going to be $29. So we're going to list that there. And then we're going to go ahead and write down the rest of our bills and expenses. So on the first, we have the mortgage. It's going to be $13.94. Then we have our subscriptions, and I'm going to use the subscriptions in a different color just so they pop out a little bit more. We have Apple, which is $10. Another Apple for $20. And I'm just going to go ahead and fast forward this, you guys, of me filling the calendar, and then I'll be right back. Alright, you guys, so now that we set up our calendar, we have everything written out, all of our bills and expenses. We're going to go ahead and set up our budget for the month. So we're going to go ahead in our monthly section and we're going to write down our month, our goal, and our sources of income and our bills. I did rewind that, you guys, just because it took me a little minute to make sure everything was written down, and I like to take my time to make sure I'm not rushing or missing out on anything. So we're going to go ahead and set this up now. So we're going to go ahead and write down for the month of May. And our goal that we have here is to get on track. And then we're going to go ahead and write down our sources of income, which the first income we have is a biweekly income, which is going to be of $1,100, which is going to be her income. And then we have a weekly income, which is going to be $900. So if you do have multiple jobs, you can use the same thing that we're doing to do this as well. 1,100 times 2, we're bringing in 2,200 from that job, and then 900 times 4, we're bringing in 3,600 from his job. So 3,600 plus 2,200 is going to be 5,800. Now we're going to go through and write down all of our bills. So we're going to start with our fixed side and we're going to go ahead and do our variables. So I'm just going to go through and write this with you guys on here. I'm not going to speed this up. We're just going to go through and write this really quickly. So we have on the first of each month, we have the mortgage coming out, which is going to be $1,394. And then on the 5th, we have the gas coming out, which is going to be $50.79. I usually like to round up, but my client likes to see her numbers written out, so I'm going to honor her request. And then we have life insurance, just $98. And then we have our SRP, which is $95.70. And then we have our Verizon, which is $356.91. Then on the 13th and the 30th, we have pet insurance that comes out, which totals us to $57 a month on pet insurance. And then we have our roof coming out on the 17th, which totals to $286 per month. $519. We have car warranty, which is $150. And then we have water / trash, $104. And then on the 20th, we have a car payment, which is $646. We also have on the 25th, car insurance, which totals to $683. And then we also have on the 26th, the IRS for $160. All right, and those are all our fixed bills. So now we're going to go ahead and write in our variables. Go ahead and start with our credit cards. We have 3 different credit cards, which total us to a total, let's see here, 133 plus 160 plus 173, about $466 a month for credit cards. And then for our subscriptions, I'll go ahead and add those up really quickly. For subscriptions, we have everything that's in blue, so 10 plus 20 plus 1628 plus 1086 plus 325 plus 12 plus $3.83 plus 20 plus 21.71 plus 26 plus 13. These are subscriptions too, you guys. These should be blue. Okay, just so you see that is blue. $7.60 plus 325 plus 162 plus 108 plus 433. We have 174 for our subscriptions for the month. I'm gonna add that up one more time, guys, just to make sure I'm not missing anything. One more time. $10 plus $20 plus $16.28 plus $10.86 plus $3.25 plus $12 plus $3.83 plus $20 plus $21.71 plus 26 plus 13 plus $7.60 plus $3.25 plus $1.62 plus $1.08 plus $4.33. So yep, we're at $174.81. Now we're gonna go ahead and put how much we spend for groceries. For groceries for the month, we're gonna go ahead and write down $600. And then for gas, we spend about $360. And then for Sun's spending, we're gonna go ahead and put $100. All right, let's total everything up and let's see what we're working with. So we got $13.94 plus $50.79 plus $98 plus $95.70 plus $356.91 plus $57 plus $286 plus $150 plus $104 plus $646 plus $683 plus $160. So for our bills, we totaled to about $4,081.40. And then our variables, we spend $466 on credit cards, $174.81 on subscriptions, $60 or $600 on groceries, $360 on gas, and $100 on Sun spending, which brings us to about $1,700 on those variable bills. $1,781 plus $40.81.40 is going to bring our expense total roughly to about $5,782.21. All right, which is going to bring our income, which is $5,800 minus $57 or $582.21. Guys, please forgive me. $5,800 minus $57.82.21 brings us down to $1,779 left over after bills and expenses. All right, so now let's go ahead and figure out how we're going to break this down on a paycheck. Weeks of, for this particular income, let's decide what our weeks of fall on. So I like to do Sundays to Mondays just so we can cover all the bills and expenses that fall through. But let's go ahead and identify what our bill cycle is going to be, since we're working with two different incomes. So what we're going to do for the first week, which is going to be the first paycheck of every single month, which we have two different incomes, right? So we're going to go ahead and we're going to combine this income and we're going to combine this income together because they fall on the same week. So we're going to start with the week of the we'll do the 28th. So we're going to do the week of April 28th to May 4th. The next week we have is May 5th to May 11th, where we just have one paycheck coming in. May 5th to May 11th. The next week is May 12th to the 18th, May 12th to the 18th. And we'll go ahead and circle out what the bill cycle is for those. From the this week we'll have 2 paychecks, so these 2 are going to fall on 1 week. The next week we just have 1 paycheck, and that's going to be the week of the 19th to the 25th. And then May 26th to, we'll just say June 1st. Perfect. So you guys, I want to make sure that we are noting these pay cycles, right? Because this is very important. So these paychecks are going to combine. This is 1 week where it's just 1 paycheck. This is the paycheck combined. This is the week where there's just 1 paycheck. And then here is the week where we have both incomes. And we're going to break this down as we do the paydays. But let's go ahead and start with the first paycheck. So this is going to be the paycheck of the 29th and the paycheck of the 2nd. And we have to cover everything from the 29th until the 8th, right? Because that's all of our expenses that come through around this time frame. So we'll go ahead and just highlight this. I'm gonna put this on 1 week, okay? And then on our weeks of, we're gonna put the payday of 4/29 and the payday of 5/2. And this is going to be check number 1 because we're gonna do this as a weekly income. So we're gonna be bringing in $1,100 and $900, right? Which brings us to $2,000 we're bringing in for this week. Now this is where we go through and decide what bills we're going to have. So what I want to do for this particular budget is split the mortgage into 2 payments. I want to split the mortgage between both of the heavier pay cycles. So what we're going to do for this one, we're going to split the mortgage, and we're also going to split the car payment. I want to have those broken down with our 2 higher checks so we have a even pay period. So $1,394 divided by 2 is going to be $697. So for our mortgage, we're going to put $697 towards the mortgage with this check. And the car payment, which is $646 divided by 2, we're going to put $323 to the car payment. Okay. And this is allowing us to have an even split between our bills. The next week, we're only going to be bringing in $900. The next week after that, we're going to be bringing in $2,000. So we always want to split the mortgage and the car payment between those higher weeks. So I'm just going to do an example so you guys can see that broken down. The mortgage, $697, and the car payment, which is going to be $323. That's a nice split, so we're never putting the mortgage on 1 check. Before, she wanted to split the mortgage into 4 payments, which I didn't think would be beneficial based off the pay periods. And you guys are going to see kind of more why we switched that going into doing the budget and breaking everything down and just seeing everything how it's going to be broken down. So now we're going to go ahead and highlight what bills and expenses we are going to cover with this particular check. So we're going to go ahead and start our highlighting and writing things down, right? So we have our paycheck, our pet insurance, which is due for the month of April. So we're going to go ahead and put pet insurance, which would have been $29 that we would have to come up for the month or the last month. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and add up our subscriptions that we have coming out. So we have Apple for $30 right there. So we're going to do 10 plus 20 plus 1628 plus 1086 plus 325. Right off the bat, we're going ahead and spending about $60.39 on subscriptions. So for subs, we're spending $60.39 on subscriptions. All right, what else do we have coming out? we have the QVC credit card, which is $160. So we're going to put QVC, $160 minimum coming out this week. All right. And then we also have the Southwest gas, which is going to be $50.79. So we're going to go ahead and put Southwest gas, which is $50.79. And then we have our life insurance, which is $98. That will also be coming out this week. All right. And then we also have the SRP coming out for $95.70. Okay. And then we also have a bank's credit card for $173. Okay, and those are our fix and our credit cards and subscriptions that will come out during this week. Now we're going to go ahead and write down our variable expenses that we need to cover. So let's go ahead and look at our variables here. So for variables, we spend about $600 a month on groceries, $360 a month on gas, and $100 for her son's spending per month, for their son's spending. So 600 divided by 4, that's about $150 a week on groceries, because we are basically breaking this down to a weekly budget. So we're going to go ahead and put groceries for $150. Gas, let's see what we're doing for gas again. Gas is $360. $360 divided by 4 is about $90 per week on gas. And then we're also going to have spending for our son for $100. 100 divided by 4, $25. Now let's go ahead and add up our expenses and see what they total to for the week. So this is where we have a stronger income, which we're bringing in $2,000. Now let's go ahead and add up those expenses and see what we total to. Remember, we split the mortgage into 2 payments. You have until the 15th of the month to pay the mortgage, so we're just going to split it into 2, so we're not using one check. $697 plus $323 plus $29 plus $50.79 plus $98 plus $95.70. Our fixed bills for this week would total to $1,293.49. Now let's go ahead and add up our variables. We have subscriptions for $60, $39 in total this week. One credit card for $160, bank's credit card for $173, groceries $150, gas for $90, son for $25. Our variables this week total to $658.39. All right, let's add that together. Basically, our expenses for our first paycheck of the month is going to be $1951.88 every single month, and this is what the first paycheck of the month is going to look like. So we're bringing in $2,000, and $1951 is going out and 88 cents. Okay, so let's do the math. $2,000 minus $1951.88. We have $48 left over and 12 cents, and this is going to be leftover. So remember, when we set up our monthly budget, we're only supposed to have $17 left over each month. So we're going to consider this leftover, and we'll explain how leftover works when we get to the second week. Let's go ahead and highlight that so it's emphasized and you can see. All right, so the next week we're going to be working with is the payday of the 9th. On this week, we only get one paycheck. So we're covering everything from the 9th to the 13th. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and section this off so you guys can see. And we want to keep our bills when we have one paycheck, and this is going to be paycheck number 2 of the month, okay? We're going to call this number 2, which is going to be bringing in $900 on the 9th. So I'm going to put that as 5/9 payday, okay? So we're going to go ahead and cover the Verizon bill with this check for sure. So we want to keep the bills a little smaller for the weeks that we don't have 2 incomes coming in. So we're going to go ahead and take care of Verizon, which is $356.91 per month. And then we're also going to go ahead and we're just going to cover something in advance. We're going to go ahead and cover this roof too, just so the next pay period isn't super heavy since we have a big split going on. So we're going to go ahead and do the roof, which will be $286. Just to get ahead. All right. And then we're going to go ahead and write the stuff that is going to repeat again, which is going to be sun for $25. And then we're going to have gas for $90. Groceries, $150. And then that's all for this week. All right, so let's add it up and see what we totaled to. $356.91 plus $286, $642.91. Then we have 25 plus 90 plus 150, $265 here. 265 plus 642.91. We're at about 907 for this current week. So why don't we go ahead and pull maybe some subscriptions? Why don't we cover some subscriptions this week? So we're going to go ahead and get ahead on these subscriptions. You guys are going to see why we did this in a second. So we're going to go ahead and just cover these 3 subscriptions. Okay. So we got 12 plus 8, 383 plus 20, which is about $35.83. So we're going to go ahead and do subscriptions for $35.83 this week. $35.83 plus $265 gives us $300.83. Okay, so I can go ahead and add that up, plus $642.91. Our expenses this week total to $943.74. Okay, so remember we had a leftover portion here that we were working with as well, right? So we know according to our cash surplus we should only have $17.79 left over, so any money that is here is considered a leftover. So guess what we're gonna do? We're gonna go ahead and take that money that we had in our savings and we're gonna add it to the income. So 900 plus 948, it's going to be $948.12, right? So that's going to cover the total of expenses for the week. So it'll be $948.12 minus $943.74. If we do the math for that, 948.12 minus $943.74, we basically have $4.38 left over for our savings. Still a portion of what we quoted for the month. All right, so now let's go ahead and head to the next week. All right, and as you guys can see, we're basically making this a weekly budget, as you can see with the numbers and everything going on. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to go in with our next color. Next color we're going to use here is going to be yellow, and this is going to be the payday of the 13th and the 16th, and we're combining these, right? And we're going to finish off the car payment with this one. So I'm just going to highlight 2 colors on it so you can see which checks covered those. So we're bringing in $2,000 this week. We have pet insurance going out for $28. So we have the mortgage and the car payment already split. And then we're going to go ahead and add our pet insurance for $28. All right. What else do we have? Everything in purple was covered with our last paycheck. So then we have our Capital One credit card for $133. Okay. And then we also have the car warranty for $150. And we also have the water and trash. Okay. Now what else do we have here? So those are the main bills. And we're going to go ahead and just cover the IRS ahead as well, or put the money aside from this check, just because the next paycheck we have 1 check and we'll have car insurance due. So we're going to go ahead and move that IRS payment to this week. So we have IRS, which is going to be $160. Okay. And those are all of the bills that we're going to cover with this paycheck. Now we're going to go ahead and look at our subscriptions as well. We don't want to forget any subscriptions. I like to color coordinate the subscriptions in a different color. It just helps. And remember that this is going to cover everything until the next paycheck. Okay. So let's go ahead and add those subscriptions up. We have an Apple for $21.71. The XM for $26 and the Kindle for $13. Just gonna bring us to $60.71. Okay. Then we're gonna go ahead and put the stuff that repeats again, you guys. So what repeats again every week? Our son's spending for $25. Gas for $90, groceries for $150 is what's going to repeat again. And that's mainly everything we're going to cover here, and we're going to go ahead and add it up and see what we total to. So let's go ahead and start with our fixed bills. And also let me add the paydays on here, you guys. I didn't add the paydays of, this was the payday of the 16th and the 13th. So we need to write payday of the 16th. Payday 13 and 5/16, which is going to be our 3rd paycheck of the month because we combine the income together. Now for bills this paycheck, we're doing $697 for the mortgage, $323 for the car payment, pet insurance for $28, warranty for $150, trash and water for $104, and IRS for $160. That is going to bring our fix this week to a total of $1462. Then we have our Capital One for $133, our subscriptions for $60.71, our son for $25, gas for $90, and groceries for $150, which brings our variable spending to a total of $458.71 plus $1462 brings our spending for this week to a total of $19.20.71. And then we're going to go ahead and do the math, which is going to be $2,000 minus $19.20.71. is going to be $79.29. And remember, it is bigger than our cash surplus, so this means it's left over. So it's going to fall for our next week. Leftover is normal when you have a bigger paycheck and a smaller paycheck. We have 1 week where only he's paid, and then we have a week where both of them are paid, which balances out a leftover amount. All right. So now we're going to go ahead and go to the next paycheck. So the next paycheck is going to be the paycheck when only he is paid. So that is going to fall on the 23rd. So the 23rd is going to be our next paycheck, and we're going to go ahead and focus on that one. So let's go ahead and highlight our next color so we can have that highlighted. And we'll go ahead and use blue since we haven't used blue yet. So we have to cover everything from the 23rd until the 27th because that's when she gets paid again. And then he'll get paid again and we'll overlap. All right, so what we're going to go ahead and cover for this current week, we're going to go ahead and write down our payday. And this is going to be the 4th paycheck of the month. Because remember, it's a weekly pay. So technically there's 4 paychecks and we're combining it together. So it's going to be the payday of the 23rd. And this is going to be the 4th paycheck. And you guys will see why we numbered the paychecks as soon as I get to the end here. So you have $900 coming in. And right off the bat, we have car insurance, which is going to be $683. So 683 of this dollars would be going to the car insurance. So 683. All right. And then what else do we have here? We have some subscriptions. So let's go ahead and total up those subscriptions. We have Apple for $7.60, another Apple for $3.25, and an Amazon for $1.62. So we'll just keep these all on one pay period. Okay. So we'll have subscriptions for $12.47. And what is our stuff that repeats again every week? Our son's spending for $25. Gas for $90. And then we have groceries for $150. Okay, now what does that bring us to? $683 for our fix. $12.47 plus $25 plus $90 plus $150. $277.47 for our variables. All right, that brings our expenses for this week to a total of $960.47. We only brought in $900, so guess what? This leftover is what we'll cover for $79.29. So we're going to add this $79.29 to our income because that was a leftover. All right, which brings our income to $979.29. So let's go ahead and do the math. $979.29 minus $960.47. We have $18 left over, and that will go in our savings. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put $979.29 minus $960.47, $18.82 is what goes in our savings. Okay, boom. So we did save a little bit more. This was 1 week where we saved $4. This is the other week where we saved $18. So we saved just a little bit more because the subscriptions fell these subscriptions fell a little later, so that's why the savings is a little bit more. But does this make sense, you guys? We went through and we gave every penny a purpose. When we get to the payday of the 27th and the 30th, it is going to be a repeat of paycheck number 1 because all of those bills will come through again. So guess what we're going to put here? Repeat of paycheck number 1. So we will go through, split the mortgage, the car payment, all these same bills, cover the credit cards, pull the leftover, and it's going to repeat all over again. So what I will say, when I did this budget for my client, we were trying to split the mortgage into 4. She really wanted to do the mortgage into 4 because it felt a little bit more organized for her. But after doing the budget, I recorded this video before I sorry you guys, I was gonna call. I recorded this budget video yesterday. I literally went through and did it, and usually what happens is why a video gets posted on YouTube is most of the time either my clients requested their budget be posted on YouTube, or what happens is I pull an example that I think would be beneficial for other people that may be in the same position, and I repost it to my YouTube, and all of these are anonymous, of course. So for this example, I was recording it and we were doing the 4-way split, and when I did the 4-way split, I just said to myself, I don't think that this will be as beneficial for her because our light paydays, right? So we have a payday where we have a stronger income where both of them are combined, and then we have one where it's just his income, and that pattern goes on again. So it's basically a bi-weekly with a weekly mix in here, and we just turned it to a weekly. So what she thought is if we split the mortgage into 4, that's the only way we can make this a weekly budget. No, it's the way we set up our pay period, you guys. So as important as it is, it's important to find a split that works between your paydays where it doesn't feel overwhelming. The mortgage can always be paid from the 1st and the 15th. So as long as that first check, half of that goes away for the mortgage and half of it goes away for that second paycheck before the mortgage is due, we can always make that possible. This is why I say always do the even split when it comes to your paychecks. No paycheck should be heavier than the other paycheck, and those weeks where we have a smaller paycheck, we want those to be very subtle. So you see that the weeks where it's just his paycheck is just like maybe 1 or 2 small bills, but they're big. But those bills were a little too big to put on the days where we had the mortgage and the car payment. So you see how we split a even split, and this was a perfect way to go through and adjust your bills. So if you and your husband or you and your partner have a very significant pay schedule, I highly recommend that you guys try this method and see how it works for you. And because that this method is starting at basically the end of the month, she would focus on the paycheck of the 30th and start over clean. So the 16th paycheck is coming up. If we can do this method for the 16th, it would be nice. At least put up some of the mortgage for the next upcoming month, and then we'll finish off the mortgage on the 30th. So hopefully we can still do that process. But I know the first 2 weeks have already passed, so it's going to be a little hard to fix and do the switch on this method. But I hope this video was helpful. Also, if you guys do want to get any financial coaching done, or you would like to submit your numbers, please let me know in the comments if you would want me to reach out for financial coaching. You can always book your financial coaching at JaleeaCreations.com. You guys do get a 15% off with the code YTFAM15 since you guys are a part of the YT family. Thank you again for watching this video. I hope it was helpful. If you do have any questions or concerns in the comment section, guys, please let me know. And please let me know also what you want to see in your next video. What are some topics that you would like to be discussed that you think will help you and will help other people that are in our community? Thank you again for watching. I hope you guys have a great rest of your month.